So what's your booking? You get the book. You're Tony Khan. Where do you who's and what? I guess you can pick their orientation as well. Are they a heel or face? But where are you at on this? Now
that is a good question. Okay. So what I think should happen, or what I think will happen.
You're Tony Khan, right? You are. It's freaky. Okay. It's Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Tuesday or Wednesday.
I get to be Tony Khan. All right.
Yes, you and then I'm talking to Tony Khan. So sorry for all the criticism over the past couple of years, Tony. I'd love to interview some of your wrestlers at some point. So, all right. So I got that out of the way. So that's your Tony Khan. But yeah, what are you doing?
What I'm doing is on September 3rd. So the day after All Out. CM Punk is my world champion on that day as a heel, and then MJF is on the chase. That's where I'm ending this weekend at, and that's why because that's like my end point, or I think that's the most effective end point, because it gets you, if you're Tony Khan, right? Like you have to it's easy to forget that I know CM Punk's tucked away on AEW Collision. And Collision, we had Michael, in the chat was talking about Collision and how they're growing. It's gaining ratings. It's growing in traction. It's a new show. Your biggest asset that the company has from a star perspective is Punk, and he's on that show. You can't let that asset just go to waste and just put over Ricky Starks and the next up and comer and the next up and comer. You have to get like a run out of this guy. And I think, if CM Punk is the champion as a heel and MJF is the chasing babyface, I think there's a huge match down the line. The next All Out, or if they do another stadium show, the following year somewhere, whether it's Wembley Stadium or otherwise. I mean, there's a big babyface pop moment out there and big business for MJF winning that title back as like the face of AEW and as a good guy. And I think, it elevates MJF because it kind of gets him into that face of the company role, and people are already cheering this guy. Like it's if he turns on Adam Cole here, like, yeah, it'll be fine and they'll be able to get there, but it's just more of the same. Like, how many times can you do this with MJF? If you put the belt on CM Punk and you make him the heel, you get your money out of CM Punk, you get your equity out of that. You put MJF in a fresh position as the face of the company. He's chasing the title. There's a big match down the road that you can build to. To me, that checks a lot of boxes, And so if I'm Tony Khan, like that's what I'm doing. How about you?
I mean, it sounds pretty good to me. I think I'd give you the book.
I don't want it
on that front.
Don't want it
big time on the long-term storytelling of the main players in the company, right? Maybe that, yeah. But that works well. Especially the orientation, I think, is so key, right? I think MJF being a babyface,
so key. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
And Punk being a heel is the best use of both of them. And it feels like we're in a bizarre world where this is much more of an issue in AEW than WWE, right? It felt like it was always the inverse, right? Like AEW could do no wrong. Characters were portrayed in the right way. If the crowd reacted a certain way, then you lean into that, and not like now you're, whether you want to or not. And there's just all the kind of, everything around it is like, do I think Punk wants to be a heel? I don't know. Does he want to do the right thing? I don't know, right? Does same with MJF, right? Does he just want to be a heel? Does he just want to, be a villain and do all these things? So I think that works tremendously well. It's hard to argue that point.
But that's where, where it comes down to, like, that's where it comes. Sorry, hold on. I just want to jump in. That's where it comes down to, like, Tony Khan. I'm not saying be more like Vince McMahon. I'm saying that I think at some point it has to go the way you want it to go for the good of the company. And it can't just be, Jungle Boy wants to be a heel, so let's do that. I'm sure John Cena would have loved to have turned heel at some point, right? But they never did, because it didn't make sense for like the business aspect of what Vince was trying to do. At some point, I think Tony Khan, it has to be from the top down. It's like, no, you're going to be a heel or you're going to be a babyface because that's where we need you most. And I think he's going to come face to face with that, whether it's right now or in 5 years. At some point, you can't bend everybody's whim, and so at some point that's gonna have to come to fruition. Sorry, go ahead.
For sure. No, I mean, the only other point I was going to say is, like, you were Tony Khan a second ago. That plan that you have means that you've re-signed him beyond, this December 31st, right? So that's
Correct.
also key as well, right? I think we've talked about this. We both agree that him coming back was like he re-signed or added a year or two extended. So, that all works in that timeline. Because if not, then you have to keep him as a heel and have it be like, hey, it's December 27th, Dynamite. We have to get the most out of this, and someone's got to beat him on this day, or else he's leaving the company with the belt. And like then he wins and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a huge Dynamite all of a sudden.
Yeah. So and it would be booked, on Collision that there's a huge match between MJF and whatever Jericho, whoever's going to be the So that is the only point there, but on your booking, it makes total sense. If he is leaving, which I don't think he is, then you keep him as a heel. But if he's going to be there long term, then him as a babyface, it's the time to turn him now. It's worked.
That's the money.
Do it.
Yeah.
So with both of them, right? So that's kind of where that is. So I think that's all the place I have there. I think we both made your stories together pretty well there. So